I started noticing the changes in my wife about 3 weeks after we moved into the house on Cedar Lane. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, just small things that, looking back, I should have paid more attention to, like how she stopped sleeping on her side of the bed, or how the shower would run for an hour even though she'd come out fully dressed, her hair bone dry. I told myself it was the stress of the move, the boxes still piled in the living room. The way the house seemed to settle at night with sounds I couldn't quite place, creaks that didn't follow the rhythm of normal contraction and expansion. Amber would sit at the kitchen table in the dark, staring at the wall, and when I asked what she was doing, she'd smile and say, "Just listening." The smile was wrong. I knew it was wrong, but I loved her, so I let it go. It was a Thursday when I first heard the other voice. I'd come home early from work, something I almost never did, and found her in the basement. We never went into the basement. The realtor had called it a cellar, which was generous. It was a damp concrete room with a single bare bulb and a dirt floor that smelled like wet stone and something else, something metallic and sweet. The door was bolted with a sliding lock I'd never noticed before. When I pulled it open and called her name, she was standing in the middle of the room, her back to me. She didn't turn around. Amber. Her shoulders moved in a slow, rolling shrug. The air down there was cold in a way that didn't match the temperature upstairs. It clung to my skin like damp silk. And then she spoke, but it wasn't her voice. I mean, it came out of her mouth, but it was lower, like someone else was speaking just behind her, their lips moving in perfect sync. "The house is hungry," she said. "It's been a long time since it ate." I grabbed her arm and pulled her up the stairs. She came willingly, almost lazily, and when we reached the kitchen, she blinked like she was waking from a nap. "What's wrong?" she asked, and her voice was normal again, sweet, concerned. "Did something happen?" I didn't tell her what I'd heard. I figured it was sleep deprivation or maybe carbon monoxide. I bought a detector and put it in the hallway. It never went off. But I started watching her differently, the same way you watch a dog you're not sure you can trust. The way its eyes follow you from across the room. The stillness before it moves. The casserole was the first real sign that I wasn't imagining things. Amber had never cooked a casserole in the 10 years I'd known her. She burned toast. She ordered takeout. That was our rhythm, and I loved it. But one night I came home and the house smelled like baked meat and something else, something herbal and bitter like time left too long in the sun. She'd set the table with the good china, the stuff we only used at Christmas, candles, cloth napkins. And in the center of the table, a casserole dish full of what looked like ground meat and vegetables swimming in a thick, dark gravy. "Sit down," she said. "I made us dinner." Her eyes were bright, too bright. Her pupils looked wrong in the candlelight, not dilated but irregular, like they were trying to be two different shapes at once. I sat. I didn't want to eat it, but I also didn't want to see what would happen if I refused. The first bite was fine. It tasted like pot roast. The second bite was fine, too. But the third bite had a piece of something I didn't recognize, something that crunched between my teeth like cartilage but was too big to be gristle. I spit it into my napkin. It was thin and curved like a human fingernail, but not. It was darker. And it had a root at the base, a tiny white thread that could have been a nerve or a vein. "Don't you like it?" Amber asked. Her head was tilted. Her hands were folded on the table, and underneath the table I could hear her foot tapping against the floor in a pattern that was almost language. I said I wasn't hungry. She smiled that wrong smile and started eating my portion. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the house. The floors creaked in sequences that sounded like footsteps pacing the hallway. The pipes hummed with a low, singing note, and from the bedroom below us, the one we never used, the one with the door locked from the outside, I heard a child's voice whispering. It said my name, twice. Then it laughed. I got up and checked the lock on the basement door. It was open. The sliding bolt was pushed all the way back, and the door was cracked just enough to see the dark. I closed it. I locked it. I went back to bed and stared at the ceiling until dawn, and all the while Amber slept next to me without moving, without breathing. I checked. I put my hand on her chest. It was warm, motionless, but warm. In the morning, she was fine. She made coffee. She kissed my cheek. She asked if I'd slept well, and the concern in her voice was so genuine that I almost convinced myself I'd dreamed it all. Almost. 3 days later, I found the journal. It was in the attic, wedged behind a loose board near the chimney. The house's previous owner was a woman named Margaret Hoskins, who'd lived here alone for 47 years before she died in the bedroom that now belonged to Amber and me. The journal started in 1978, and the first few pages were normal grocery lists, complaints about the weather, notes about her garden. But then the handwriting changed. It got tighter, smaller. The letters leaned backward like someone was writing left-handed with their right hand. She wrote about the guest who came through the floor, about the singing in the pipes, about the thing in the basement that learned her voice and called her by name. And then in the final entry, dated 1 week before her death, she wrote something in a single line, pressed so hard the pen tore through the paper. It learned the last one by wearing her. It will wear me too, and it will wear whoever comes next. The house is just the mouth. We are the food. I closed the journal. My hands were shaking. I wanted to leave. I wanted to grab Amber and drive away and never look back. But when I went downstairs, she was standing in the hallway watching me with her hands behind her back. Her eyes were that wrong shape again. She smiled and her teeth looked sharper in the dim light. "You found Margaret's notebook," she said. "She was nice. She fed us for a long time." My throat closed. I couldn't speak. "Don't worry," Amber said, stepping closer. She pulled her hands from behind her back. She was holding the basement door's sliding bolt. She'd taken it off. She was holding it like a gift. "The house is hungry, but I've gotten good at cooking for it." She reached out and touched my cheek. Her hand was cold in a way that was wrong, cold like wet stone, cold like the air in the basement. And behind her, from the bedroom below, I heard the child's voice again, louder this time, singing a song I didn't recognize. "Daddy," it sang. "Daddy, come downstairs. Dinner's ready." I ran. I don't remember deciding to run, but I did. I bolted for the front door and I made it onto the porch before I realized Amber wasn't chasing me. She was still standing in the hallway, watching, smiling. And as I stood there in the cold morning air, I watched her reach inside her mouth and pull something out. A thin, dark curl of something that might have been hair, or might have been root, or might have been a piece of Margaret Hoskins still lodged in her throat. She held it up to the light. "I'll keep her warm for you," she said. "When you come back, and you will come back, Owen, you can't leave. You're in my voice now." I live in a motel 6 blocks away. I've called the police twice. They went to the house. They said Amber wasn't there. They said the house was empty. They said I should consider talking to someone about my stress, but I keep hearing her, not in my head, in my ears. When the motel shower runs, it runs for exactly an hour, and when I check the mirror, I see her reflection standing behind me even though no one's in the room. She smiles. Her teeth are wrong. Tonight the reflection didn't leave. It's still there. It's watching me write this. And as I finish this sentence, it's leaning forward to whisper something in my ear. It says, "Come home, Owen. I kept your spot at the table." The motel shower just turned on by itself.